Every man condemned to die wakes up one last time. He showers, he shaves, he looks in the mirror and sees only another day. On the morning of October 26, 1995, Fatih Shikaki stood in room 608 of the Diplomat Hotel in Slima, Malta, and had no idea he had 4 hours left to live. But 2 kilometers away, in a safe house overlooking the harbor, the men who would kill him had been awake since dawn, preparing, checking weapons, rehearsing every movement one final time. By noon, one of them would be dead. The others would vanish like smoke. This is the story of 3 seconds that changed the Middle East and the professionals who made it happen.
To understand why Fatih Shikaki had to die, you need to understand what he built. Born in Gaza in 1951, Shikaki was a physician who applied clinical precision to terrorism. While other Palestinian leaders talked peace, Shikaki perfected the art of the suicide bombing. Between 1987 and 1995, attacks linked to Palestinian Islamic Jihad killed over 100 Israeli civilians. He moved like smoke between Damascus, Tehran, and Khartoum, always one passport ahead, one safe house abandoned just before the raid. He was meticulous, disciplined, and very good at staying alive. In Tel Aviv, inside Mossad headquarters, a decision crystallized. This man would not see 1996. The file landed on the desk of a team leader, a veteran of Black September operations and the Tunis raid. He studied Shikaki's patterns for 6 weeks and discovered a fatal flaw. The target was meticulous about changing hotels, but lazy about changing routes. When intelligence confirmed Shikaki would transit through Malta on October 26th, the trap was set.
They call them Kidan, in Hebrew, bayonet, the blade you don't see until it's already inside you. 7 operatives were assembled: a motorcycle driver with a perfect Mediterranean accent, a female shooter who'd scored perfect marks in close-quarters combat, a boat pilot who could navigate by stars, each one a specialist, each one willing to kill for their country. They arrived in Malta over 9 days. Different airlines, different faces. The driver came as a German tourist, the shooter as a British businesswoman with flawless paperwork, a company that existed only on paper, but what perfect paper it was. They rented a safe house in Slima with direct sight lines to the Diplomat Hotel, and they watched. October 25th, final preparations. The route was timed to the second, the motorcycle positioned, the boat fueled, escape routes confirmed. As the sun set over the Mediterranean, 7 people in different parts of Malta went through their final rituals. Weapons cleaned, documents burned, each one knowing that tomorrow nothing could go wrong. Because if it did, they'd die in a Maltese prison.
October 26th, 11:17 a.m. Shikaki finished breakfast in his room. He made 2 phone calls, one to Damascus, brief and coded, one to his wife, 4 minutes of conversation. Her laughter, his voice, warm and relaxed. He didn't know those were the last words she would ever hear from him. At 11:23, he put on his jacket, checked his watch. The meeting was at noon. He was always early, always careful, never careful enough. 11:34, Shikaki stepped into the elevator, rode down with a cleaning woman who would later tell police he seemed relaxed. He whistled under his breath. 2 kilometers away, the shooter pulled on her helmet. Through the darkened visor, Slima looked peaceful. Mothers with strollers, tourists with cameras. Normal life, seconds away from shattering. 11:38, the spotter's voice crackled over the radio. Yotze, he's leaving. Shikaki pushed through the hotel doors into October sunshine. He paused, pulled on sunglasses, turned left toward the taxi stand. The motorcycle entered the street. Normal speed, just another bike in a city full of bikes. 2 helmeted riders leaning into the turn. 30 meters, 20, 10. The driver downshifted. The shooter's hand emerged from her jacket. 5 meters. Shikaki was checking his watch, always punctual, always. The first round entered behind his right ear, 9mm hollow point. From that range,
He was dead before his brain could process the sound. 3 more rounds, professional, thorough, the pattern they'd drilled 1,000 times. The entire engagement, 2.7 seconds. 11:41 a.m. Fatih Shikaki lay on a Slima sidewalk. His phone began to ring in his pocket. Damascus calling, wondering where he was. The phone rang 14 times before it went to voicemail. The motorcycle was already gone.
In the first 30 seconds of an assassination, chaos is your ally. The motorcycle headed north at exactly the speed limit, nothing to draw attention. The shooter field stripped the pistol as they rode. Slide off, barrel out. Each piece dropped into storm drains and over seawalls. By the time they reached the harbor, the weapon had ceased to exist. 11:44 a.m., 3 minutes since the shooting. Police were converging on the scene. Roadblocks would go up in 15 minutes. They had 10. The boat was waiting, a pleasure craft registered to a Swiss corporation that was really a Mossad front. The riders boarded calmly, no running, just 2 people going for a cruise. The motorcycle sat abandoned on the dock, keys in the ignition. The rental paperwork would lead to a German tourist who had checked out that morning and whose passport would never cross another border anywhere in the world. 11:47 a.m. As the boat cleared the harbor, an ambulance arrived at the scene. A paramedic named Joseph Borg would later say, "This wasn't a crime of passion, this was an execution." By 1:30 p.m., 62 kilometers offshore, the operatives transferred to a fishing trawler. The smaller boat was scuttled, sinking into Mediterranean depths that would keep its secrets. By sunset, they'd transferred again to a submarine waiting beneath the surface. By midnight, they were in Israeli territorial waters. By dawn on October 27th, they were in a debriefing room in Tel Aviv, filing reports that would be classified for 75 years. And in Malta, police were still processing the scene, still trying to understand how professional killers had evaporated into legend.
The call to Damascus came at 2:17 p.m. He's dead. Within hours, the news rippled outward. Gaza, Beirut. But in the corridors of power, the calculations were more complex. Shikaki had been difficult to control. His death, privately, was a convenience for some who publicly mourned him. In Malta, the investigation went nowhere. The motorcycle was clean, completely wiped. The safe house, spotless. Security cameras captured the bike, but the riders' faces were obscured. Every lead dissolved. Israel never claimed responsibility. They never do. A government spokesman simply expressed hope that those responsible for directing terrorism face justice wherever and however that justice may come. The phrasing was deliberate. Not a confirmation, not a denial. Just careful language, refined over decades of operations that officially never happened. The United Nations held sessions. Strong words were spoken. A resolution was drafted. It went nowhere. Malta eventually closed the case. The files were boxed and stored in a basement where they would gather dust for decades. The 7 operatives returned to their cover lives. The shooter went back to her apartment in Haifa, resumed her work as a systems analyst, attended family dinners, smiled at appropriate moments. And sometimes, late at night, she'd stand on her balcony and remember a sunny morning when she'd ended a human life with 4 precisely placed bullets. People think you become a monster to do this work, but the truth is worse. You don't. You remain entirely human, and you have to live with what humans are capable of when they believe the cause is just.
29 years have passed since that October morning. Today, if you walk along the street in Slima, there's no plaque, no memorial. The Diplomat Hotel has been renovated, renamed. Room 608 is now an executive suite. Tourists sleep there, unaware. The operatives, 7 names that will never be publicly known, have aged like everyone else. Some retired, some remain active, their skills applied to new threats. In the years since, Islamic Jihad has carried out its promised retaliation: bus bombings, rocket attacks,
Each attack a reprisal for a reprisal, cycles of violence spinning outward, each generation adding new grievances to old. Shikaki's death didn't end anything. It just changed who is signing the orders. Assassinations don't solve conflicts. They create temporary voids that others rush to fill. The Israelis killed a man, but the ideas are harder to kill. The motorcycle used in the assassination was eventually sold at auction. Somewhere on Malta, maybe that Yamaha 750 still exists. Someone might ride it to work every morning, utterly unaware it once carried two people who changed history in less than 3 seconds. The deeper question, the one that haunts every targeted killing, is this: does the end justify the means? And who gets to decide? The 7 operatives believed the answer was yes. They acted with professionalism and precision. Those who mourn Shikaki believe the answer is no, that his death was murder, not justice. And the truth? The truth is probably more complicated than either side wants to admit.
There's a cafe on that street now. People sit outside, drinking coffee, checking their phones, planning their evenings. Normal life. The kind Fatih Shikaki never got to finish living. The kind his victims never got to finish living. Because here's what gets lost in the operational details. People died. Not just Shikaki, but all the people killed in the attacks he orchestrated, and all the people killed in the reprisals for his death. An 8-year-old girl in a Jerusalem bus bombing, a university student, a grandmother buying vegetables. The names pile up like stones, each one a life, each one an absence that echoes through families for generations. In the end, the Malta sidewalk is just concrete. It holds no memory. It makes no judgment. Feet cross it thousands of times each day, most having no idea what happened there. The operation was a success by every tactical measure. Target eliminated, team extracted, mission accomplished. But exemplary actions don't end conflicts. They just perpetuate them in new forms. 30 years on, Israel and Islamic Jihad are still at war. The faces have changed, the weapons have evolved, but the fundamental calculus remains the same. Violence begets violence begets violence, world without end. The 7 operatives who executed Fatih Shikaki were professionals doing a job they believed protected their country. History will judge whether they were soldiers or assassins. But they were human. They had reasons, they had orders, they had doubts they buried so deep they might have forgotten them. Just as Shikaki was human, he had convictions, he had justifications he believed absolutely. Both things can be true, that Shikaki ordered the deaths of innocents and that his own death solved nothing. That the operation was brilliant and pointless. That justice was served and justice was denied. We're not there yet. We may never be. But we can at least remember that every bullet fired, every mission accomplished, every justified revenge creates another name for someone, somewhere to mourn. The Malta sidewalk remembers, even if we choose to forget.